Welcome back to the next part of the Diablo 4 ability tree tutorial. Today we're going to take a look at how to set up our player stats, including the XP bar, how to heal the player, how to do the stamina, and also the player level, as you can see. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the actual player stat system. Now, this player stat system is going to control the player's health, the stamina, the level, and also the XP that they're going to get. Everything will be controlled by the player stat system. I'm going to create a very simple stat system, nothing too crazy, but it is going to be an expandable system where you can add additional features to it, and I'll show you how that is done. So first, we're going to go to our content drawer. And in our ability manager, we're going to create a new folder for player stats. Again, we're not going to use any components or anything too complicated. This is going to be a very simple stat system. So before we go into the player stats, we're going to go into our third person, get our blueprint, go to our character, and we want to start setting up our base stats for the character. So some of the stats that we can create for the character are health. We want to make sure that the player has a health variable. And let's keep it nice and clean, and we'll call this player stats in the category. So it goes into a separate category. If we're going to have a health, we need to have a max health to cap out how much the player can have. So that'll be in the player stats. We're going to have the stamina. Again, you can call it stamina, mana, however you prefer. And then that would have a maxed stamina as well, or max mana. Make that into player stats. And we're going to take a look. We're going to have a player level. This we can actually make it into an integer because we're going to be increasing the player level by 1 every time. So we're going to go ahead and make that into a stat. So these are the specific stats that we're going to be working with. So I want to create a function that you can use to basically handle all of these um, variables at the same time. Um, or instead of having to create a separate function for every single one of them separately, because ideally all of these are going to have the same functionality. It's going to take a input value, like it's going to take an amount of health, and it's going to add to your existing health, and it's going to make sure that it's not going to go above the max health. Stamina is the same thing, and the player level is going to increase as soon as the XP bar gets to the max point of it. It's going to increase the player level as well. So we're going to go ahead and create a new function to handle that. The function will be called update stats. And this update stats, this is a video that I recently have done regarding this. You can actually check it out on my channel. It's the same settings that we're going to do here as well. We're going to give this update stats an enumeration. And that enumeration is basically a list of all of this right here: health, stamina, player level, and anything else that you would like to add. And then for each and every single item in that enumeration, we're going to have it trigger a different function. So let's create the enumeration here. So let's go back to our ability manager, player stats, and then right click, and then we're going to go search for enumeration. We're going to call it E underscore player stats. Like I mentioned, if you want a simplified version of this player stats, there's a separate video on my channel that you can go check it out. But here, this one, we're going to integrate it into our Diablo style ability bar. Enumeration is basically just a file that holds a list of all the different items that you want to have, a different list. Here, we're having a list of all the player stats that they could potentially have. So that would be player level. We're going to use this 3 for now, and then we'll keep expanding this as we go further and build into the XP system and such. I'm going to go ahead and close this, so we only have 3 items in there, and we're going to have an input in here. And the input is going to be stat to update, and that would be E underscore player stats, right? That the one that we just created. And one more input that we need to get here is the amount. We want to know how much you want to increase this stat by. So if you were to drag off of this stat to update, you actually will be able to use a function called a switch function. What the switch function does is when you call in this function, it's going to get a health value or a stamina or a level selected from whoever is calling this function. Let's say you drink a health potion, that potion will have the function to set it to health. And if you drink in a mana potion, that potion should have a function to set this to stamina. And when it's set to health, this will fire. The health function should fire. And when it's set to stamina, the stamina function should fire. So what we're going to do is, normally I would just take this health and then take the current health and then add it and do the same exact functionality. Like health and stamina follows the same exact functionality. So I'm going to create a new function to kind of handle that to keep this nice and clean. We're going to say increase stat. So what this increase stat is going to do is it's going to take a player stat, which is going to be the float variable, and it's going to take a amount to increase, and it's going to return new stat. We can also do the max stat. Right, how this works is it's going to take the player stat that we want to increase. So this could be either health or stamina. And then it's also going to take the amount to increase. This will come from the actual potion itself. It's going to add it, and it's going to make sure that it's not going to go beyond the maximum amount that it's allowed. And then it's going to return that stat back, and we're going to set our stat on the other side. So let me show you how that works. First, we need to go to the max health and set this to our max health. I'm going to set it to 100 for the purpose of this training. You can choose to set it to however the amount you like to set it. Again, the health and stamina, we're going to leave it at 0 for now. It doesn't really matter. The max health does matter because we're going to clamp, which we're going to take a look at in just a second. So what I want to do is when it's called, whether it's health, stamina, or such, if health is called, the player stat that I want to impact is the health stat, right? And the amount to increase is this amount. Instead of having to drag all the way here, it looks messy, I can just drag off of it and say get amount, and that will get basically this right here instead of without that lines. And the max stat is the max health right here. And then we're going to take our health and we're going to set our health to whatever this new stat is going to come down to. You'll see it in action in just a moment. I'm going to do the same thing here. Copy and paste this, and I'm going to put this as our stamina stat. So I'm going to delete this health, max health, set health, and I'm just going to put in stamina. Stamina and the max stamina, and then also this one I'll go set, and then set this to this. Right? So when this function gets called and it tells you, hey, I want you to update the health, it's going to take our current health in, and it's going to take how much we need to increase the health by, and it's going to clamp it so that it doesn't go beyond our max health, and it's going to return that health back, and that's going to be set as our new health. So here we're going to go here, we're going to take our current stat, we're going to add the amount that we need to increase, and we're going to go ahead and call something called a clamp float. The clamp float is basically it's a function that restricts the amount between a min and max value. So minimum, your health can go to 0, nothing beyond it. Sorry, nothing below it. And maximum at this time it's going to go up to 1, which we're going to drag off this maximum. And if you remember, we set our maximum health to 100. So it will only allow your health to go as far as 100, nothing beyond. So even if the players are 99 and they heal for 10, they will only go to 100, and then they will stop right there. We don't want the player to overheal, right? Unless that's a function in your game, you can definitely change this clamp. And then we're going to set this as our new value. So that is basically it. And again, if you think this is a little too crazy and too much, you can always select the whole thing, right click, collapse the node, and call it update health. Same thing here. I'm going to call it collapse the node, and you're going to call it update stamina. If you want to see what's inside of it, you can just double click and it will take you into this that we just set up. And if you ever want to kind of get rid of it, you can just call it as expand node and it will put it back. So this is just to make it nice and tidy. Okay, so now we can start working on the XP system. For that, we need a couple more variables. So let's go ahead and create a variable called current XP. We're going to put it into another category called XP system. We're also going to create a new variable called XP to level up. This is how much XP you require to go to the next level. We're going to put it into the same XP system category. We're also going to create another one called total XP. And this will keep count of your entire XP since you started the game all the way to where the player is at that time. So this is like a bucket that's going to hold all of your XP. We're going to create a new function that's going to determine how much XP the player needs to get before they can progress to the next level. Now we're going to make this dynamic. So the player's current level will determine how much XP they're going to get. And it's going to get progressively harder, but not too crazy that you're going to have to grind forever. So it's somewhere out of a medium ground. So we're going to go to the functions, create a new function, and say calculate XP for next level. Pretty wordy, but doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and start looking at our player level and then increase the XP based on our player level. We want to have our player start at level 1. We don't want the player to start at level 0. So once we're going to get the player level twice, and we're going to multiply our player level by our player level. This will give us like a player level square. And we want to create a local variable inside of this, and we're going to call it the steepness. This determines how difficult it's going to be for the player to get the XP, because the steepness will determine, will increase or reduce the amount of XP that is required. So you can play with this number. 50 is a very good spot to start. You can always choose to go lower to make it easy for the player. And you can change the steepness to higher. Higher, like almost like 100, to if you want to make it really difficult for the player to get XP. I'm going to go ahead and take this and do a multiply and by the steepness. Okay. And I'm going to get the player level again. And we want to create another local variable called the base increment. This will determine what is the base amount that the player have to get before they can progress. Now, if all else fails, this will make sure that the player has to at least get this base amount before they can progress to the next level. Now, this is set to 45. So you can change your base level to anything higher you want. The higher you make base increment, the worse that the XP grind is going to become. So I would be mindful of that. Now we're going to take our play level, multiply by the base increment, and we're going to add both of these together. And this will be your next level XP to level up. So we're going to take our XP system, total XP, we need to put that into the category. We're going to take our XP to level up, right? Actually, we're going to set it. We're going to set our XP to level up to this. Let's bring this down. So we'll bring this up here. And that's it. Now you can add a return node and get this information as to what your next XP node is. I'll add it in here. There's no harm. It's already there. But I'm not really going to be using it much. So that's it. This is our simple formula, not too complicated, but it's a progressive formula that's going to help us determine, based on the player's level, what the next XP level requirement is going to be, or XP requirement for the next level is going to be. Now we're going to create the add XP functionality. I'm going to create a new function to manage the adding XP functionality. So the adding XP functionality is going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to take our current XP that we have so far gotten. We're going to get our current XP, and the add XP is going to need a amount to add. So there'll be XP gained, right? And it's a float. It's going to take it and it's going to add to the current XP. Let's put it here. So right off the get-go, as soon as the player gains XP of any sort, it's going to immediately update our current XP and say this is your new XP. And we also need to set that as our new XP. Now that we have set our new XP, we want to do a check, because what if this XP is enough for us to level up? So we want to do a branch to check. So again, you can put in a branch. And what are we checking? We're checking if the XP that is required to level up, if we already have enough XP or more than enough to that exceeds this XP to level up. Because if we exceed this, we want to increase the player's level. So I'm going to get our current XP. And remember, we said that we're going to use the total XP as our bucket. So we want to make it so that every level, the current XP gets reset to 0, but then the total XP is going to keep record of how much XP you have gained so far. We don't want the player to go to level 2 and then having to start all the XP from the beginning. So we want to take a total of the current XP and the total XP and check if this is greater than or equal to our XP to level up. XP to level up is always going to be higher, because as the player's level go up, it's going to get higher and higher. And every level, this current XP is going to update, and this total XP is going to keep record of how much XP the player has received since level 1. Once we determine if this is good, now if the player has received enough XP to level up, then we're going to take our player level and do a increment by pressing plus plus. That's going to increase the level up by 1. You can choose to level up the player as much as you would like. And once we do this, we want to do a couple cleanups as well. The cleanup will be, we need to take our total XP, and we want to take our current XP. So this is how much we have received so far, and this is our pot of XP. And we want to add this current XP that we just received to the pot. So this pot is always going to be growing. As soon as the player level goes up, the pot is going to get updated with how much XP we have currently received. And we're going to set our total XP here. Okay. I can drop this down below. Alrighty. And now we're going to set our current XP to 0. So we want to reset our current XP, but we want to use total XP to keep account of how much XP we have received so far. And once that is done, we want to calculate our XP for the next level. So this function, this XP bracket now gets increased. And also we want to make sure that for level 1 of the player, we want to have a target XP already determined. So this Diablo event begin play, we're going to go and call this function as well. As soon as the game starts, we want to calculate the XP for our next level. Our player is level 1 already, so we want to calculate how much XP the player needs to get to go from level 1 to level 2 right here, right away. And when the player gets an XP, it's going to add to his current XP pool. This is like a, think of it as a temporary XP pool. And once that is added, it's going to check to see if the current XP and the total XP, the total of these two variables, if it is greater than the XP required to go to the next level, we're going to increase the player level by 1. We're going to take our current XP and add it to the total XP pot, and we're going to reset our current XP to 0. And we're also going to calculate the XP required for the next level. And that's basically it for the function to add XP to our system. Now, how we can actually test this system in a moment. I'm going to go to our Diablo tray and use a keyboard C, and I'm going to say add XP. Pretty easy and straightforward. And XP gained, I want to make it 25, right? So I'm going to gain 25 XP. Now we want to visually see this because we don't want to really text it because we already have our progress bar set up here. We want to visually see this as well. So here we're going to go to our progress bar. What I have done is I've actually added an overlay and then added both of these XP just to keep it nice and tidy, right? And inside of here you have our XP progress bar. I want to bind this to an event. I know as the progress bar goes up and down, it's a fraction. We don't want to go and update using an event every single time we gain new XP. We want this function to constantly keep checking what our current XP is and update the bar accordingly. So we're going to go to and say cast to third person character and make this a get player character reference. And we're going to do a couple things here. We're going to need to first get our current XP. We need to get our XP to level up. And all of these are coming from the third person character that we just created all of this and the total XP. We want to get our total XP and subtract, to get our XP to level up, and we want to subtract it and subtract the total XP from it. So we are going to take a look at how much we need to level up to the next level, because this one's always growing higher and higher. This is never going to reset. And the pot is going to hold what you have already received. So we're going to take a look at what we need for the next level and remove what we have already gained. And then we're going to take what we are currently gaining and do a division by this number. And that should technically make your progress bar only update with the current XP. If you don't do this, what's going to happen is your progress bar will fill from 0 to 100, and your next requirement will be to get 200, and your progress bar will say, hey, I already have 100, I only need to get 100, so your progress bar will go from 50% to 100% rather than going all the way down to 0 and then back to 100. That's how the Diablo setup is done, and that's how we're going to do it here as well. And one last thing that we're going to do before the testing is to actually add our player level here. So what I have done is I have gone ahead and created a new material, a texture, and this is just a diamond, just like the Diablo diamond that you see. I've just created a little diamond to hold the level inside of it. Not the same as Diablo, but I think this should work. Again, if you're a Patreon member of mine, all of this will be available for you in the Patreon. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new overlay. We want to keep, again, everything clean. So I'm going to go and create a new overlay. And I'm just going to drop it right here. Let's close off that overlay. We'll rename this overlay to XP and ability. This one we're going to rename it to level. Inside of this overlay, I'm going to create a size box. As you know, the size box is very handy and helpful. It's going to help you to resize anything that's inside of it. And I'm going to put in an image inside of it. And this would be the actual image that we received. So where is it? There it is. Okay, so let's take our overlay, anchor it to the middle down here, and reset its position X and position Y. That should bring it right about here. And I'm going to take these the size, we can just bring it down, right? I'll just make it like 30 by 30, right? Compile, and the image will be the image that I just showed you. You can go to the brush and select that image. Now I'm going to drag this entire overlay, right, and put it where I want it to be. Now as you can see, it's actually sitting on the back. For this overlay to be in the front, we just got to make sure that it's at the bottom. Whatever is at the bottom is going to be on the top, and whatever is on the top of the list is the one that's behind. Now that we have done that, we should be able to now use the size box to size it up. Actually, we'll just use our overlay to size it up. We'll just leave the size box as it is. And I know the Diablo one sits just like that. It kind of cuts off the first bar as such. We will also want to put in a level in there. So we're going to create a text, put it inside of our overlay. Take the text, and then we're going to rename it as player level. And we're going to make the text 999 because you want your player to go up to 999. And if you want to go higher, completely up to you. I'm going to make the text maybe like that. Center it first so it's right in the center. And put like the size 8, which I think looks pretty good. 7's okay as well. 7 kind of keeps it nice and clean as well. Up to you. For me, the 7 works, so I'm going to leave it at 7. Compile and save it. And I'm going to go to the text and I'm going to bind and create a new event just like we did for the progress bar. This one's again pretty straightforward. We're going to cast to the third person character. We're going to get player character. And we're going to get our player level from here. And just simply put it there. Nothing else is required, just that. So let's go take a look at how this looks in game. There you go. So you have your player level, and if I go pick up the abilities are being set up in a wrong manner. I always end up breaking something every single time. I believe this needs to go from left alignment. There you go. That should fix that. There you go. So that was just an incorrect selection there. And we press, if I press C, you'll notice that my XP is actually raising up. It keeps going up higher and higher. And as soon as it gets to the very end, it's going to level me up, and it's going to go back to 0 again. And it's going to continuously keep doing this again and again and again. So on and so on. So I can keep gaining XP. And as you can see, as the level goes up, it requires more and more XP to get to the next level. With that being done, I think this is a great spot for us to stop the tutorial here today. And I really do appreciate everyone who has come this far in this tutorial series. We're almost at the end of it. The next video, we're going to take a look at how we're going to do the health bar and the stamina bar as well visually. And we are going to come close to the end of this tutorial series for the Diablo tray abilities. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to leave it in the comment section and I'll definitely answer it. And if you have any ideas of what other tutorial that I should be doing next, please feel free to drop that into the comment as well. If you like this video and if you have gained any type of help from this video, a like would definitely help the channel grow and allow me to get to more developers who may need the same assistance. Once again, thank you very much for stopping by and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.